So guys, we're here. We wanted to set up this a little bit differently this time around through the podcast. We're at episode 6. We got a great guest on today. His name is Tommy Smith from Remax Edge. That's Mike Knapp's office. So we're really looking forward to diving in and talking some real estate, some personal stuff, and some good old just maybe Staten Island neighborhood stuff.
That was the best introduction I've gotten.
Really?
Yeah. I love it. Usually they say, not this kid again.
So I think just to get started, tell us a little bit about, your background a little bit, how you've gotten into real estate and what made you do it. Because you don't grow up saying, I want to be a real estate agent.
No,
or do you?
No,
Okay.
Definitely not. And I don't want to, I don't care how I sound. This is going to be a no holds bar.
That's fine.
Right? I only thought growing up and then a certain age in my 20s, I thought realtors were only women. I didn't know any realtors. Actually, the first realtor that I know was a friend is Danny Hall. Still a realtor, excellent guy, good friend of mine. At the time when, hey, listen, I was old enough to buy a house. But no, I never thought I'd be in this business. I grew up odds and end jobs, always working, right? And then I became a union carpenter for about 13 years. And I saw the way people were going into work. And my commute started at 5:30. Yeah. And the job got out at 2, and I was back on the island by like 3-4 o'clock, and didn't have to think. There was no thinking at the end of it, which that's one thing I do miss. But the commute was killer. I sat next to a woman with the same old perfume, and every morning 5:30 on the express bus. Listen, I made great friends that I still talk to in that business, and it built a ton of character. I do know how to work with my hands a little bit,
right?
But it was a union job, so I got people lunch for about 10 years.
I gotcha.
Hey, listen, somebody's got to do it, right? So I took the lunch menu.
Can I tell you the first day that I went on a construction site, that I was in the back of the truck looking for a bucket of steam for about a good hour until I realized there's no bucket.
Yeah. They got some good ones.
I wasn't meant for it.
Right-handed screwdriver. My first job was actually on Staten Island. We built the Outback by the mall. I don't think it's Outback anymore, actually. It's I don't know what it is now, but where Angelina's Kitchen is.
Yeah, of course.
So when they redid what was over there? The Wiz? Was the Wiz over there? Or
the Wiz was on the other shopping center. Wasn't it?
No,
that was Crazy Eddie's.
Crazy Eddie's was the whole other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like my first construction job, and then a buddy of mine's like, no, you got to do high rise in Manhattan. So I went to a high rise in Manhattan, bro. There's a thing called a hoist. If you're not familiar with it, it's an elevator on the outside of the building.
Oh, I've seen them.
That takes you up real fast. It's real jinkety. So imagine being a 17, 18-year-old kid, even a 20-something-year-old kid, and it's your first time going on the outside of a building, shooting up 50, 60 stories into the air with, a skinny metal rod holding you attached to the building. Yeah, you learn real fast if you're afraid of heights.
I'm afraid. I'm deathly afraid of heights.
And the first gig was outside protection. So those orange nets that you see on these high rises, I was leaning over and tapping in. My job was to literally tap in nails on the outside curtain of these buildings, which was scary. Doing it for so long, you see these guys coming into work. Look, nobody was really happy to be there besides like the foreman or the shop steward. Everybody, and typically the shop steward would have been drunk from the night before. And I just saw the way things were going. I'm like, I think I had enough of this. They're like, what are you talking about? It's 7:30 in the morning. Where are you going? I'm like, I'm packing up. I'm out of here. And nobody believed me. I went down. I spoke to my boy Jerome. He was running the job. And I said, I think it's time for me to go. He's like, what do you... I was working for a buddy's friend of mine. Yeah. And he's like... so I went home. I'm like, all right, I need a new profession. I spoke to somebody a little... I always hung out with older kids.
Right.
And they were like, you know any realtors? I'm like, no. I said, yeah. He's like, go get your real estate license. He's like, that's exactly the point. You don't know a realtor, right? That means your friends don't know realtors. That means by the time you get settled, they're going to have you. So I went into it thinking, hey, listen, these shows weren't out yet.
Yeah.
All these big money shows that you see buying Manhattan, selling Sunset, things of that nature. None of that existed. I went, got my real estate license in 13, and I started, and I had the construction background, so I thought that would carry into, which it does, right? Looking at houses, I could see, if there are issues or what's beneficial of having a solid wood door compared to a hollow frame or something like that, construction-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But real estate really opened my eyes to the financials of it, right? My family never owned houses. My mother and father didn't own their house. And as soon as I got into real estate, my why was to be a homeowner.
Right.
And since then, I've owned and sold a few homes.
Yeah.
So for myself.
Yeah.
Prior to, obviously, in the business, I've sold a few, thank God.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people get into this industry and they do this business, but they don't actually take care of themselves in the sense of, if you find something out there that you think is beneficial, then jump on it yourself and start flipping, and whether it's flipping or renting out your homes. And
100%. The home that I'm living in now, I went to list.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there with the homeowner. They were from out of state. It was an estate, pretty much an estate sale. Their parents had died. Old home in Tottenville, 1901 it was built. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, this is like good. This is like strong bones, and I'm like, what's the number here? We agreed on the number. I said, listen, do you mind if I bring in, she's now my wife, Brianne, and let her look at it. If she wants it, I'll make you an offer. Mm-hmm. We'll save on the, you save on the commission, things of that nature. And he's like, yeah, sure. He didn't care. He's like, here's the keys.
Right.
One stipulation was, so she walked in, and listen, maybe it was just because she wanted to buy something, right? As soon as she hit the front door, she opened the door and said, yeah, we're buying it. Like,
really?
She didn't even see the rest of the house. I said, listen, look at the house. There's pink rugs, the green rugs and pink rugs, blue bathrooms. I said, listen, this is going to be a lot of work, a lot of time, to make it how we want it. And she's like, no, I think this is good. I said, all right. And,
that's awesome.
And that's how we have the house that we're living in now.
Yeah.
Listen, I do believe they are stepping stones, mm-hmm. and a property should be looked at as an investment.
Right.
Right? Yes, you create a family there and memories, those things you take with you. And I tell all my clients that, listen, you're not selling your memories, you're not selling the experiences that location gave you, but utilize it as some type of financial benefit, because it has definitely appreciated. Correct. From when you bought it. Real estate typically in New York always appreciates. So use that and further your experiences where now, hey, let me buy wherever, mm-hmm. right? Start my family, start whatever this is that I'm looking to, and then use that as a stepping stone to get to where you'll eventually be, yeah. or where you want to retire to. So I do look at real estate as strictly investments.
So I just got a call this week, and the person owned for a long time, but didn't realize after speaking to me, or didn't know how to put it in his own way of thinking, that the net proceeds of all the equity that you built up from the home, you can utilize for a down payment, yeah. or the full down payment and closing cost, or bridging yourself to upgrade, liquidating whatever you may have in your assets, and the combined amounts can bring you to another specific purchase price 100%. That you're looking to do. And it's done all throughout. And normally everybody uses those couple words to say, oh, this is a great starter home.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you have that, and then you've been there for a certain specific amount of time, it's a great way to elevate yourself into a bigger home. You don't have to start there.
No, exactly. And building equity, there's it's how the wealthy maintain their wealth or build generational wealth, is not just, you don't have to sell that home. You build that equity, you pull from it, and you buy something else. And save that for another podcast on how to invest. But yes, I do believe everybody should be buying real estate. Listen, it's very stressful, strenuous. Yeah. You need a realtor to do it. You might get lucky and get a for sale by owner, and you might, they're very slim. It could be passed down to you, which is great. but to really buy yourself a piece of land, home ownership pride kicks in immediately.
Yeah.
We've been speaking off camera a ton about family values, and Joe, it's really. It's selfish. I wanted to come on the show because I see the type of work he's doing. And I'm like, get me on there, get me on there. You got the best of the best on there. You know, I need to be a part of the show. And so I thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and the off-camera conversations that we had today were just, amazing.
Yeah.
And, it's continue that relationship.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen you, and since I've known you, and it's not that I've really sat down in this type of setting as well.
No, yeah.
It's always been most of the time at a Cyborg event.
Sure.
And your earlier years when you were first starting, and the same for me. We'd probably be right up next to each other ordering whatever we're ordering at the event, right?
Yeah.
And so
whatever was liquid.
Yeah. And so it was more of, if I seen you out, it was Tommy's a good time.
Sure.
Tommy's definitely a good time. However, you've said your wife's name, right? Brianne. Along with you are now have
Isla. Yeah,
Isla.
She's 4 months.
4 months.
She is now my new. She controls everything. Actually,
100%.
Everybody goes back into this business and they say your why. If your why doesn't make you cry, and if your why doesn't get you up in the morning. And I always used my why. I always had a why. Mm-hmm. I think everybody should have a why.
Absolutely.
Of why they're operating in life in general. And my why was always time, right? I want to have no time now, right? And while I'm active, while I'm healthy, but when the time comes when I want to go away and live my life, and that's why I dive into work so deeply still to this day. As soon as you have a child, though, you throw everything out the window. Yeah. Everything that you stood for prior, everything that you've done in the past, your work ethic, everything gets thrown out, and your full concentration is on that child. And it's strenuous, man. It's difficult, and I'm not afraid to talk about it, how it strains your family, it strains your accounts. Date night is no longer a date. You try to.
It becomes rough.
It really does, especially these earlier months. Like you just said, you have 14 and 12, right? So you've gotten past that, but I need to ask you, does it really ever end, right? You're a veteran at what I'm just beginning.
Yeah.
And we're sort of in the same age group, right?
Right.
I wish my back was the same when I was in my 30s, because I'd have no problem picking up my kid.
Right.
Now I'm like, you're getting a little heavy.
Right. Right.
So
it definitely... It changes, but I think it's still, the stress will always still be there. And the timing of things where everything's geared towards the child, it still is, even at that age. Yeah. It's just different things that you're looking to make sure that they're staying on the right path. Yeah. And then, we talk about travel. So it's travel softball or flag football. So the weekends are completely gone. It's just what it's what it is.
You live now. And everybody says, your life's over. You live for your kids. I get it, right?
Yeah.
And trust me, I lived a life from the early ages. I probably shouldn't have been doing what I was doing and hanging with the people I was hanging with. But I could pretty much say I've done enough to where now I have no problem living for my kid. I'm glad I'm living for my kids at this age.
At afar, I want you to know, even seeing you on the camera or whatever you've been posting from when I would see you out to where you are now, I respect it, because
thank you, brother.
I've gone through that. I think a lot of men will go through that as well, and you start to shift your mindset.
Sure.
Whether it's like, all right, it's family, it's my wife, it's my daughter, and I'm doing this business for what? Yes, it's fun and stressful at the same time. So we like to let our hair down, but I think you're actually curbing it to the best that you can.
It's curbed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I see that, and I'm like, I can pinpoint and say his life's changed.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still want to be a good time, right?
Yeah.
Will I ever be? You'll never be the same person you were yesterday, right? And unfortunately, I can't. Well, or fortunate.
Right.
Right. And it's just, I even told her, right, we've missed a ton of events, obviously babysitting, and you have to be there for your child at this
Of course.
point. But I do want to start getting back out, but it's going to be a different, it's a different person.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
I do it. I do it differently now. I'm a better networker.
Sure.
The next day I'm more fulfilled in what I'm trying to accomplish, and piggyback off of who I met with that night that evening. So it becomes even that much better, and it's just it's work.
Yeah, like you said off camera, the kids don't care if you're hungover the next day.
Yeah,
things have to get done, right? And what was tough for me was I was very regimented in a schedule. I woke up, went to the gym, almost even had the same breakfast every day. Now, again, everything changes, once that child comes.
So the one thing that I've learned that has helped me throughout the years on being a better person or a better parent was taking care of myself.
Sure.
And it became to the point where I never even thought I would think about going to the gym, a 5 o'clock in the morning type of stint. And I started doing that at certain points in my life to make sure and be like, if that's the only time, let me do this now, because I know the type of person. I'm more focused. I'm more, even keel throughout, whether it's work, whether it's through my personal life. That has helped me be a better person and more professional in trying to be successful.
And they always say, right, your kids will pick up on your habits, right? They'll see you and they'll see that, you're working out or whatever you're doing. They'll end up picking it up. So I'm trying to, and it's difficult, but I'm trying to get back to that point of being in, listen, this is a super stressful environment that we're in, right? As a realtor, you take the burdens of the seller or of the buyer that they don't really realize. We have in our control their biggest purchase, right? Obviously, we're not coming out the finances of it, but we're coming out of our thoughts, our feelings. We're in that situation with you, so, and we're trying to guide you as best as we can. So that is stressful, especially when no deal is ever the same, right? And no deal is cookie cutter, and no deal, typically right now they all have hair on them where they get tough, man. And we take a lot of that on where the buyer or the seller doesn't even know what we're doing.
Correct.
Where we hold it with us. A buddy of mine is drying out a basement that it's not his fault that their water pump broke. But you know what? It's on. He took it upon himself as a realtor. Hey, I'm drying it up. I'm calling the plumber. I'm doing this. She's out of town. She didn't need to know anything about it. It's all getting done. Appraisal's getting done. So little things like that where people don't really realize what a good realtor does for them.
Right.
We're taking those phone calls from the appraiser, from the attorney, from the banks that aren't the greatest of phone calls, and we either have to re-relate that message to where the messenger always gets shot, or figure it out prior, and they never know, what has taken place.
And so I think as that's what separates you from the top agents to compare to maybe an agent that maybe a deal has fallen into their lap,
sure,
so to speak. So it becomes like, what's your value that you bring to the table? And it's all these things that a buyer doesn't see. And I always say, just in life in general, see 5 steps ahead of yourself.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And making sure that all these things that are being pieced together and so many moving parts that are happening, that you're at the forefront guiding and saying, all right, I need bank to step in, I need attorney to step in, or I got to step in myself, and then more or less guide everything to the table and make sure things are closing on time.
1000% agree. And I think that's why I was able to build relationships with people like yourself, because you need those. And not that an unexperienced agent won't have them, right? Because it doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. I used to love it when these old timers, and now I don't consider myself an old timer.
Are you?
I don't know, 13 years. There's people that are doing this 30.
I think you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, but this business does change every day, right? don't get me wrong, it does. And if you're not on top of things, you will get pushed to the side and in the past. And there'll be always those people that get business because they have a book of business or a deal falls in their lap, right? You want somebody that's sort of, like you said, in the thick of it or has done it, has the experience, that knows what they're going through. But you could be in the business 2 years and have all those experiences brought upon you where now you know. So I don't ever, it was told to me daily, I've been doing this for X amount of time. I'm proud of you, you know. Just because you've been doing it that long doesn't mean you were doing it right, right? You got away with it,
right?
You know, and you weren't called out on it. But find somebody with that experience, and there's so many good agents on Staten Island. It's been about a year and a couple months. I expanded into Brooklyn, and we were speaking about this off camera. The amount of service that I give and what I see is being given. You have good and bad agents everywhere, right? So you want to try to differentiate yourself from what the norm is,
right?
And we said it 1,000 times. I could tell you exactly what to do, right? Are you going to implement it? Probably not. So I'm not really here to tell you. I love a lot of these people. They put a camera on themselves, and now all of a sudden they're selling you some type of 100-step program that they're doing to be, you know, a good agent. A good agent, I think, starts in the heart and morals. And, you know,
you got to be
the anti-salesman.
Yeah. And so that part of it, I hated the job. I know when a salesman is selling me, and I can't stand it. So it was more of, and one of the reasons why I do this is to get to know the authentic person themselves, because behind what I do for a living is a legitimate person that's just trying to survive in life, but also provide for his family. And I want people to know that's the experience that I've had in the real estate community. Yes, we're all on a common goal of selling or listing or purchasing homes and what have you, but each individual person has their own story, and I find it fascinating because it's all walks of life that everybody is coming from, whether it's a second stage, a first stage, or just happenstance to fall into this industry. And what makes them successful, it's different things in different areas, you know?
It's so true, right? And there was a time where my wife's clients, I had to take over. My wife's clients and me don't mesh. We didn't get along. I fired myself from one of them because I said, listen, this is not going to work out. It works out with her.
Right.
It's not going to work out with me, unfortunately.
Okay.
Here's a list of people that it might work out with. I have no problem sending other agents business. I know who's good in the business. I know. So for me to take a step back and say, hey, listen, this is not, your experience isn't going to be good. My experience isn't going to be good. We're not getting rich from this. I don't know the exact numbers, but realtors, unless you're on a movie or on a TV show, you're not banging out crazy numbers.
I think a lot of people in the general public would be surprised if they seen the type of numbers.
Break it down to an hourly number, right? We're definitely below minimum wage.
Right.
And then you have, you have these attorneys. Call an attorney. Right, $500 every time they pick up the phone. A good attorney, a half attorney. If they're charging by the hour.
Right.
Let a realtor do that. Right. There's a lot of these things that are going on with NAR, with things behind the scenes that the public really only sees the news about. But you break it down into a wage of, I get that big commission check at the end. Taxes come out of it. My broker fee comes out of it. All my marketing fees come out of it. By the time, and all the work, it's 2 months for a deal to go through right now. Correct. 60 days. Add that up. What did I really make on the deal? You see the end number, right? You write that out at the closing table. All my work gets done prior to that table. Yep. At that table, I'm the least important person there.
Right.
If I've done my job correctly, I'm going to the closing to leave a last experience about myself, to ask for a referral or ask for a good write-up.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Hopefully Our relationship, I try not to make it end there, but our working relationship really does end at the closing table.
Yeah.
You want to try to just keep that relationship going because you want to be their realtor for life,
Of
right?
course.
And that's how you build a business. And that's why I'm pretty much at the point where it is referral business that gets to me. It's somebody, a family member that I've sold a house to. There's certain families that brother, sister, mother, father, they've all came to me, and I'm super proud that it wasn't a one-time deal, and that also separates,
Shows your worth.
100%.
You made a lasting impression for them to come back. For me, even when family comes to me, I'm ecstatic, and
Sure.
it really it makes me feel good because they can go anywhere, and they're trusting me, and I want it to be that way, and so that when they see the way I work, it's more of the value of not just, hey, you came to me because of the relationship that we have, but now let me do what I'm supposed to do, or that type of
A hundred
of
percent.
feeling of making sure that, like, I'm the professional, I got you, and then taking it from there. And it's happened in certain situations where it kind of goes back and forth, buyer's attorney, seller's attorney, and I'm like, timeout.
Yeah.
Understand certain things, whether I'm bringing it back to an on or about date at a closing. You're well within your rights, or we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, so that stay the course instead of
Yeah.
just getting, side handled that way.
What you just said there, right? Nobody even thinks of is taking the time out, right? And that's seasoned. That's somebody who knows they need to control the situation so it doesn't get out of hand,
Right.
right? And not everybody's. Listen, I wish everybody was that way, but it's not. And you get a lot of people that are just pushing the paper just to get a deal done, and you don't see that with you, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons why we connect, and just to spin back, right? Being popular, right? Everybody was cool when they were younger, and Staten Island was a very small community when I was growing up. You pretty much knew everybody either through sports, either through different high schools, or how you traveled on the train to get around to different neighborhoods.
Yep.
I've done maybe a handful. I've sold many homes, right? I've done maybe a handful of friends and family.
Right.
All of my business is out. Now I don't know. It's just because, hey, listen, it's Tommy, type of deal, which it still could be, right? Until they start seeing the output, right? Until they start seeing, hey, listen, now he's been in it,
That's
right?
right.
It wasn't just he became a realtor and now he's doing something else. Like, he's still a realtor.
That's right.
He's an associate broker. I've taken it to the top parts of the industry. Doing the CE is super important. You go to more events, and I told you this in the other room. You go to more speaking events than most realtors do in their whole career.
Right.
You do in a year. Right? You're not only learning your side of the business, which is mortgages, you're learning what the realtor needs to know.
Right.
And you're able to bring that back and share that with your sphere, and you know what's going on. It's invaluable. What you're bringing to the table to have both ends of that. Now, I can't speak on mortgages.
Yeah.
I don't. I either show them a calendar. I say that's going to get you close, but how about this? Call Joe.
That's right.
Call
And
the
I'd rather
professional.
that. Absolutely.
Yeah, call the professional, because listen, I'm going to most of the time I'm dealing with the seller, right? So I'm going to market your home. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to make sure you get top dollar. Your house is going to be seen everywhere. I could go on and on a list of what I'm going to do to sell the home.
Yeah.
But the person coming in, listen, that's not my field. This is why you hired me.
Right.
I know who's able to help you, and a lot of times it's fitting the glove on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I just said, I wasn't the agent for my wife's clients.
Yep.
Right? There's going to be people that don't like me, that hire me just they know I get the job done. Hey, he's going to sell the house, hire him. We don't need to talk, right?
Right.
But a lot of times this becomes intimate, as in we're speaking every day for that 6 months. There's heated conversations most of the time.
Absolutely.
We're putting each other in each other's places a lot of the time, and those need to happen in a transaction. It is one of the most stressful parts. People are spending a lot of money. Staten Island, it's above $500,000 to own something right now,
Right.
On average. So in Brooklyn, it's almost double that.
I liked what you said, that I always say is I'll stay in my lane.
Stay in your lane, man.
I'll stay in my lane. And if there's something, I'll always say, listen, with respect, let me push that back to the agent or the attorney. I think that's a conversation that should be had. And then, I'll put my input in, but I think truthfully, this is something that you need to be discussing with them. And so I think a lot of people sometimes cross over, and I'm like, no. It's stay there.
With regards to that, and not to cut you off, but this is part of your lane. This podcast, you've merged. You're not looking to branch out and become, and I use Joe Rogan only because it's the first name on top of my head that
absolutely.
has the best podcast, right? But you're not, what you're doing is you're bringing in, right, the best of the best on your show. I just like to say that because I'm here now. And you're not just making it about them, but you're making everybody human.
Yeah.
Which this is a human experience. You are not going to be taken over by a computer algorithm or robot. My wife will tell you, and most people will tell you, I was up most nights till midnight figuring things out. Like, I don't like when everybody goes to bed, like, that's my time to really dive into how to make myself a better person. And I'm glad most people, I don't know if they see it or not, but you change that when you do start having a family, of you're no longer that. I hopefully am still a good time. It's just the next day.
No, there's different levels, and I felt that when I got married, but more importantly is when those kids and they. Well, you said
my wedding. I don't remember half the night. I remember the bill. I remember the bill. I don't remember half the night.
No, but when the doctors go, all right, I think it's been a couple days. All right, here you go, and you're driving home and you're going,
wow,
this is wild.
Wild.
No manual, no nothing.
Nothing.
And so when that happens, and as the man of the house, I don't know how to stop. Like, for me, I gotta make sure that I'm getting up every day and doing 110% of whatever I can do to support the family and make sure that not only my wife but the girls, they see what their father's doing every day.
And nobody's living a lavish lifestyle here.
Right.
Like, people are barely getting by, and for certain people to portray that image of, listen, more power to you. I don't care really what anybody does, right? I typically stay in my lane. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm only going to do real estate. That's it. And I want to eventually get to the numbers where, hey, listen, like, I'd rather do less and spend more time at home or with my family. Not necessarily at home.
Work-life balance.
I'd rather be doing something, but I'd rather get to the numbers in real estate where, hey, listen, even one deal a month, it could be fine if it hits that number, where now I have 29 days to really set aside. And
you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
So that's
becoming a father. And I don't know if I feel like only parents die. I don't know. Like, your cool uncle's still alive somehow, doing the things they do. And, like, I don't know, becoming parents, it's just, our time is so limited. And not to bring everybody down, just for like 2 minutes, but, like, all I think about now is what I'm going to do with her. Like, and I want to instill everything that I think is good in me in her.
Correct.
So that's why I sort of want to rush this period of her just, using the bathroom and crying and eating,
right,
to where I know I could get it in, and then, maybe breathe a little easier.
It'll happen.
As like, you have a teenager, you have a preteen, like, I don't even think that far ahead.
Yeah.
Only because I'm like, I don't know. It's crazy.
It goes while you're in it. It feels like an eternity, but by the time, and everyone has told you this, like they did to me, when you look back and you're like, damn, I wish they were that small again.
Yeah, I could hold them.
You know what I mean?
I put her in my friend's hands,
Yeah.
and these are guys, like,
Yeah, of
you know,
course.
they're like, you know, and they're like, they melt.
Of course.
And they're like, I remember when my kid, you know, my
Yeah.
kid, his son, daughter was this age, and, you know, and then their wives are looking at, I'm not having another, don't even think about it, or vice versa.
Right.
So it's funny to see, because like I was just telling you, a lot of my friends, their kids are starting college, 16, you know, so they're looking at me. I was very late in the game, but I think I got out what I needed to get out in my life of experience going out.
Of course.
Right? We just went down a road of every night we were somewhere else.
Yeah.
There was an event every night, not real estate related, but you were able to go out every night of the week. I don't even know if those things even exist anymore.
No.
Like, you know,
I couldn't even try to
and
fathom.
I'm more, when I got a little older, I became more of a day person.
I was a big day.
Yeah, I'd rather be at a pool party
Yeah.
or something like that, you know,
Yes.
than the nighttime club stuff. But
Right.
but now it's all over.
Yeah.
Now, listen, if I go out to dinner and it's 9 o'clock, it's late. You know, we're figuring out ways to get home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
What do you think has changed since when you first started? Whether it's on the personal level, obviously, you know, it's really the family and having a daughter now, but on the business level, like I feel like the market has changed and
sure.
how we conduct business. Like, it's, for me, it was a big part of why I do this was post-COVID and how I can, you know, stay relevant within the community that I work in. And I think that this has been a huge platform for that and connecting with agents. And so that's the reason, that's one of the biggest factors that's changed for me. And I was just curious on your side. I know there are a lot of changes, whether you wanted to dive into that or not, but more importantly, like generating business and sales aspect of things, how you used to do it before to now.
It's a great question, right? And again, I've only been here 13 years in the real estate world. Social media, night and day, right? It's where you're going to be seen, and it doesn't always have to be business. And you'll see a lot of agents, they'll put up exactly what they're doing every second of the day. More power to them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that type of time, or I don't want to be seen that much. My face isn't that nice to look at, or my voice, for that matter. Nobody wants to hear me, see me. They just want my work done, right?
It's a distinct voice,
Yeah.
though, Tommy.
You
know?
No, my daughter's going to be terrified, you know, in years to come. When I started, it was broker eccentric, where the broker controlled the business. They gave out the leads, you know, be in the office, you know, be in the office, and then when you're in the office, you'll get the lead and then get out, right? Then it became agent-centric, where the agents, pump the agents, be a better agent, put yourself out there, social media, me type of deal. I believe now it's going to the client, right? I think it's going to be consumer-centric, where, hey, listen, it's their needs over ours, right? It's doing for them. It's making sure they're in a good purchase, right? Not just, hey, you're buying a house. Do the work prior, you know. There's a ton of websites that you could use to dive into exactly what they're looking at on the sales side and the buy side. Go to DOB website. Go to these websites. Find everything out about the house. Find out when the year was built. Find out, you know, what modifications they made to them, what rehab work they did to the house prior to you even putting in an offer. Do the offer work, right? Find out the sale of the area. Do a CMA on that house. Even though it's not your listing, you're the buy side. Hey, listen, where can I put in an offer? Hey, Cybor's at 5% list to ask ratio. All right, let's offer this, right? Have an educated offer. Don't go to the client and say, hey, what do you want to offer on the house? Say, hey, listen, I did the homework. This is what's going to be accepted. Here are the numbers. Where do you want to go from this number to this number, right? Do the work prior, right? And let it be about, instead of it being about you, let it be about the customer. And AI right now, and even 3 years ago, AI is tremendous. And it's not about writing your listing description or helping you write a paragraph. It's helping you generate. It does everything, actually. And the more you use it, the more. And I heard you talking to somebody who didn't have it on their phone.
Yeah.
Have it on your phone, man.
Yeah.
Speak to it and make it realize who it's talking to, because my AI knows it's me when I start writing, and I don't need to tell it I'm in real estate. It already knows.
Right.
So I break down my business to them, and now it writes for me as if I would write it, only it's writing it correct in proper format. So
It's not Brooklynese.
no, it's not Brooklynese. And everybody thinks that, listen, I had my Jersey license for years. Nobody even realized it. I do no business out there. I refer it all out.
Okay.
I went on listing appointments, and they would hear me, and they'd be like, and it was in like Westfield, Cranford area, which
Right.
is not too far from here.
No, it's not.
And they'd be like, oh, yeah, what school do your kids go to? Oh, I didn't have kids at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't have kids. Where's that? Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Staten Island. Okay. It was over. They just shut down, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, I'm just talking to myself right now. And I'm like, and then I got to the point, I'm like, do you know where your buyer is coming from? Your buyer is coming from Staten Island.
That's
like
right.
Jersey is only doing good right now because Staten Island is selling at a profit and buying out there. That's the only reason why, besides them having a huge inventory problem.
Right.
The only reason they're getting the numbers they're getting is Staten Island.
I had a conversation yesterday in regards towards a buyer looking to put an offer in. They have a low down payment, but they're going over asking, and I had to put the brakes on it, bring in the agent, and be like, guys, we have to worry about these numbers.
Sure.
I was like, you're looking to even waive an appraisal, and I was like, I'm not for that.
No.
Because you can get yourself jammed up.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the reasons why. Like, we're worried about down payment. We're worried about closing costs. You're not doing a seller concession, obviously. And then you're expecting this appraisal to come in $50,000 over the asking, the listing price. And I pull it back a little bit and say, think about the listing agent that is trying to maximize the amount of money for their seller. And we're saying that it's going to appraise even more.
Yeah.
And I said,
you didn't do your job.
Right. So there's comparables that we need to be concerned with.
Amazing.
In doing things like that. And you're finding that across the board.
Your deals, and that's why people should know, and that's why I told you keep pumping this out, because more people will end up seeing it. When they see your name on a letterhead or under the pre-approval, there was time and effort that went into it. It wasn't just say, hey, listen, I need something generated up, write it up. Like, and that's what I break down to any buyers that I do work with, right? Are either very close dear friends of mine, or they're very referred, where it's a very close situation. I break it down to a monthly payment with them, and I say, hey, listen, I don't care what you could afford or what you can't afford. Oh, my pre-approval says I go to $850. Let's start looking at $850. Hold up. Do you know your monthly payment's going to be $6,000 or whatever it is? Right. Like, do you have that? And if you do, God bless. And let's go look. But I want you to still have a date night. I want you to still put food on the table. I want to make sure the electric and gas gets paid. I want to make sure this is not just a year of ownership.
Of course.
And then all of a sudden now you're looking to do something, remodify your loan or sell, or God only knows. The amount of stress after the buying cycle goes through is even more than prior.
Right.
That mortgage is every month, and the months get shorter and shorter. I feel like every year, because it don't stop. It don't stop.
Right.
That letter's there, literally. It somehow magically appears on the same day, same time in that mailbox, and it needs to be paid.
Yeah, they'll always say like, "Hey, does the mortgage get sold?" And I'm like, I was like, 50-50 shot. Really don't get involved in that.
Yeah.
However, that monthly payment stays the same, and it's coming.
And it's coming.
Right.
They could sell it 9 times. What does it matter to you who's on top? They want their money. Like, and until you have your house paid off, unfortunately, they do own it. You're sort of in a partnership with the bank.
Yeah.
Until that's paid off.
I love the fact that, even in this day and age, you've seen the value or your value to go back to Brooklyn and try to drum up that business there, because everybody always said back in the day, it was always the part of the migration.
Yeah.
Everyone came from Brooklyn into Staten Island and then into Jersey, then obviously into Pennsylvania or Florida.
So
and then some skipped, Staten Island into Jersey. But I like the fact that you went back there to.
And there was a reason. So when I sat down with Mike Napolitano, he's like, I love that you're going the opposite way of everybody. The stream is headed, even further off Staten Island. And again, you have to look at how many either appointments you could fit into a day, or if you're a numbers person that way, right? But if you're not, there's still a lot of business that gets done out there, and that needs representation, and good representation, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm capitalizing on. There is a market for everybody. I think every agent could do as good as what they want to do. I do feel like you said, and we go back to higher power or belief system, right? I think everybody, you see that a lot on social media, right? You see, oh, you could do this, you could do that. I wish that was the case, right? A lot of people do fail at it, but it's not for everybody, right? But for the people that are good, and listen, we don't make. Trust me when I tell you, I still drive a 2011 Sentra, right?
It's okay.
Right? It operates. I can pull it on the curb. I don't care if I get hit. I do have full insurance on it. So there's.
That's classic.
It doesn't matter really.
It still gets you to point A to point B.
Point A to point
From
B.
one house to the next.
I don't put my wife and kid in the car.
Right.
But I'll go in it, no problem.
But there was always a work car. There was always every household had the work car.
Hoopty is what we call it. I always had a hoopty, right? That's it. I still drive it until it shuts off. That thing makes more money in real estate than any broker I know.
God bless. That's awesome.
It runs around. Listen, I'm in Brooklyn a lot now. I try to get out there at least 3 or 4 days a week, only because you got to be on the streets. And that's another thing. Going back to how the business changed, nobody's in the office anymore. These guys, is great that they're in the office because you have an office camaraderie here where everybody feeds off each other.
Yeah.
When it was an office generation, when I was working in that office, I would hear people on the phone, and that would get me amped up. Hey, 100%. Listen, and we go back to boiler room operations where we've seen it and heard. We're in that generation of there was a ton of kids that made a ton of money, right?
But that's how you learn.
It's how you learn, right? You hear somebody get rebutted, and they come out, and you're like, "Wow, what did he just say?" And oh man, that was great.
Right.
Like so to listen to that, which is gone now. Right. Because real estate offices, I could drive around and very skeleton. You have a skeleton crew in there. You might find a broker there every now and then. But agents should right now be on the street.
In my side of things, you have the loan estimate, which we officially disclose in the very beginning. The loan estimate is the breakdown of all the closing costs. I used to do that at the table where the borrower always came into the office and you sat with the 30 pages of disclosures and they wet signed every single one. By doing that, now in my head, I picture what page they're actually looking at, and we don't do that anymore. It's all online. It's, but they have a question. I'm able to explain what document it may be or the question that they may have off of the loan estimate and go line by line by line because of what we did back in the day. And so a lot of the younger loan officers, they're now, I'll put it on speaker so they're listening to exactly why I'm explaining certain things, line items. So there's the transfer taxes that always show up on a loan estimate, but it's not the transfer taxes. It's a federal document. But in New York City, you're paying New York City mortgage tax. But that's where the line item goes. So every borrower is like, I don't understand. Why am I paying transfer? I'm like, you're not. However, that's the line item that it has to go on because of New York City mortgage tax.
Exactly.
Things like that. Or the per diem interest and why it's collecting 7 days or 30 days and how that can affect the amounts of closing costs that are being utilized. And so all those things are what we're describing to a borrower, and you're getting that when you're sitting next to me rather than trying to do it on your own from home.
100%. You have the two guys sitting in your office that could listen to you, and that's why I say it doesn't matter if you're in the business 1 year, 1 day. If you have guidance from somebody that's been doing it, right, it should be like an extension of your arm,
100%.
right? Where, hey, listen, whoever it is, right, as long as they learn from Joe, we're pretty much okay,
Yeah.
right? Because he's been doing it. So even agents, a lot of these agents will go out and not have that mentorship, and I'm a big believer in mentorship. I think everybody, especially getting into any type of trade or business, right? I was an apprentice for 4 years before I became a full carpenter. I was in an office, where your percentages, as you get better, you make more money. And I was learning. I had one of the best sales managers I think anybody could have, not just because he was a great salesperson. He knew how to manage people, but even the things that I didn't think were good, right, which were probably bad, now I know not what to do, right?
Right.
I know what to do and
Yeah.
what to do. So from him, I soaked everything in, and I try to now give that back to people in the office,
Of
or
course.
younger agents that are on my team. I get into a little bit of a thing where, hey, listen, they're like, Tom, I hired you. I didn't hire your team. Where I'm still doing open houses every weekend. My
Yeah.
wife hates me. I still do them. I'm in the office or I'm on the street, 7 days a week. This is something I'm still building, which is excellent, right?
Right.
13 years in the business, I'm still building.
Yep.
Right. I'm not looking to venture off into selling you vitamins or saying I have the best lifestyle in the world, because I definitely don't. I'm struggling just like everybody else, and I think that's why those videos that we spoke about of me in my bathroom, those were difficult times. Like you feel like the end.
Yeah.
Like,
And
hey, listen, can I do it?
Yeah.
It makes me a little emotional, but you end up, the next day comes, and you're all right.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that's where, and why when I saw a lot of your content, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, look at this. I'm like, this is fucking real.
Yeah.
Like, he is being real. This is authentic. This is what should be putting out there. There's nothing fake about you, which is awesome.
I don't know how to do that. So that's
Yeah.
that's
which
one
is
thing.
why we get along.
Right.
Right. Which is, hey, listen, there were good times, but now it's like, now it's real.
Yeah.
And that's what I think social media will come down to, right? A buddy of mine, not on social media, and he goes back to, like, he'll bring up people like, I don't know, like old school philosophy, and he'd be like, and kings and queens and stuff. He's like, the Joker always gets killed, or the jester. He's like, you don't want to be the jester. He's like, this social media is making people jesters. They become characters, and everybody thinks they're funny. Or not everybody's funny. I even say I shouldn't be on there. There's no reason why 3 million, 4 million people should be looking at me.
Right.
No reason, right? But when you're authentic, that comes across, bro, and people realize that. And then when you're fake, buddy, that also comes across.
I agree. And so when you were doing the videos with your daughter, it hit home. It registered with me, and I guarantee you that registered with a lot of people, whether it was, man or wife, that they remember those early mornings. I didn't realize what being tired was.
Yeah.
Until I had my firstborn, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to function the rest of the day. That I gotta really hike up my skirt, so to speak, and try to pull this off. And so when I would watch you do that, I'm like, man,
I have a funny story.
we did that.
Downstairs in my basement, which now turned into my office. My office was upstairs. Now it's the baby's room. Now my office is downstairs in the house. And I have a bathroom down there in the basement. And that's where I shave. I don't need the barbershop. Sorry, Aunt. I don't need you anymore. I loved you for so many years. But I do this with a
Bic razor.
Yeah, no, a T-liner.
Okay.
I can't bic my head. I'll break out.
I got you.
So I use a T-liner to do the whole thing. So I'm shaving, and I hear Isla just crying her head off. I'm like, oh, damn. But not realizing, so I just go upstairs. As soon as I take her outside, it stops, like instantly. I don't know what it is, but she just stops. So I take her outside, and I'm walking up the block with her, and my neighbor's like, yo, is everything all right? I'm like, yeah, why? He's like, half your face is shaved. And now he's my neighbor, but we're up the block.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what? I turn my phone around on me. Literally, I have this whole half is completely clean. This whole half is a nightmare looking.
That's so
And I'm
classic.
like, oh my God, I walked out of the house like this. I'm like, I knew people were looking at me. I knew people were looking at me. He's like, buddy, get home. What are you doing? Get off, get in your house and
That's
finish.
so funny.
Yeah, so you sort of like lose track of a lot.
Yeah.
And you have to remain your business, right?
Yeah,
I don't.
course.
I'm a big believer where I'm not afraid to tell you, I would run upstairs or downstairs because I'm dealing with millions of dollars in properties,
Yeah.
right? They hear a baby in the background. If it was my property and I heard a baby in the background, I'm gonna say, excuse me,
Yeah.
you're going through something,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
listen, call me later,
Yes.
right? And that would. And
Yeah.
then it would sort of fall off from there. It'd be like, hey, listen, if it doesn't sell, we know why. He's got his hands full.
Right.
Not that he's a bad guy. People go through life, right? And then there's my wife, like, no, they get it. I'm like, listen, maybe your people get it, not mine. Like, it's not in my head.
I agree.
Right? Not in my head. They don't get it.
Yes.
Like, they're hiring somebody else while I'm on the phone with them.
Yep.
So there was times, but now, again, you try to build that relationship where, hey, listen, I do have a 4-month-old in the background, and she is crying, but that's really where this is going. And I'm going to work just as hard because of that.
Of course.
And people realize that. This is real
absolutely.
life. Like, we were just at a closing. It took 6 hours yesterday. Everybody was
6
up.
hours.
Yeah. Funding wasn't coming. It was bad news. All the attorneys were there, but the bank attorney.
Gosh.
Everybody called their significant other and had FaceTime with their kids.
Yeah.
And listen, it needed to be done. And that sort of broke me down where, hey, listen, we're all human here.
Yeah.
Like, stay on that human level. And that's,
absolutely.
again, to go back to, I begged them to be on the show because I said, bro, you're literally doing what I wanted to do for such a long time, and that's be real with people.
Yeah.
And it comes across, and every time I pop the phone over and show whoever I'm with what you're doing, they're like, yeah, that's real.
Thanks, man.
Especially with the kids. They take you over. Your daughters are gonna have their own show one day.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you're not gonna be.
I can talk mortgages. I got down payment assistance, grants, anything you
nobody
want.
wants to know that.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
All I do is put my daughters
they
on.
They want to know what pasta is being eaten. and they made such good points. Like, it's weird, but they're all the same. It's just a different shape.
That's right.
It's crazy to think that, but it really shows who you are, Joe. And,
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on. And,
oh, bro, I love it. I love being real with people, man.
Yeah.
It's, and like I said, we both have paths where things could have went either way, right? And then we chose a direction, and you've been doing this a real long time, and it shows. That experience shows when. And again, these transactions, that's why I say it doesn't matter in a day or a year or 10 years in this business. The experience shows, and being real with somebody shows, and say, hey, listen, I'm in this pit with you. We're gonna fight this out, and we're gonna get this done. And just know I'm side by side with you, and that's what I think people need to know, especially buyers nowadays. I think buyers need to know that especially because all these new rules that NAR decided to come up with, which I feel is going to be great for the business, right? I also think the sales side, it's going to be great for the sales side. But people need to know you're in it with them.
My biggest, I guess what I'm up against is always the online banks.
Sure.
So I try to build a rapport as quickly as I can and humanize the situation. Obviously, I understand the particulars and the details that a borrower wants to understand. And are they competitive? Are they just as aggressive? And so once we get through that, I want to make sure that I'm actually the service aspect of things, or just knowing that you're dealing with another human that's walking side by side during this stressful time, because they only dance in this once, twice, 3 times at most people.
Exactly.
And you have to, and I tell everyone, you have to build the team, from the agent to the bank to the attorney, and making sure they're guiding you every step of the way.
I did want to ask you a question, right? How do you what do you do when you're not doing mortgages? Like, how do you I know it's family, but like, what is it? Like, because that's what I need. I need like the time off of, and I've been asking people like, well, what do you do? Like, because for me, I'm always thinking about work. And I think it's this business. It's, as a carpenter, I wasn't thinking about when I was the next nail, so.
So it's very hard to turn off the your mind on business, because it's always what's next, along with, as the girls have gotten older, I'll appreciate hanging out and watching a game, but it's for them. And so recently I got to be 18 again. And so a lot of people are like, dude, what's up? Because they seen me go to Pearl Jam concerts.
Not one. This is where I was going. Not one.
Four.
Four.
In the last, in a 2-week time span.
So wait, Pearl Jam has, I don't even think they have 4 albums. No, they have. Do they have?
Yo,
4
you
albums?
crazy?
How many albums does Pearl Jam have?
You put me on the spot, but it's teens.
Teens?
Yes.
So wait,
absolutely. But everybody wants to hear 10, Vitology,
yeah.
and Verses.
Verses. Yeah, that's it. Nobody wants to hear anything else.
No, but there's so many other good albums. But I get it.
Wait. Were there different songs being played at the concert?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
So there's Dark Matter is the album that they're touring on, but in different.
That's brand new. Dark Matter.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
I stopped listening to Pearl Jam in the teenage years, but no, they're very good.
So listen, I'm 48, and so when they came out, that was
sure.
That was my band. Like, if
were they considered grunge?
It was grunge. Yeah, absolutely. They came out of Seattle. It was Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And Eddie Vedder's eyes are rolling in the back of his head, and he's hanging off of a balcony, and I'm like, who is this?
Yeah.
But I really, really enjoyed the music, and we got to see them. And so we went to see them in Madison Square Garden, and it was 90. I'm almost positive it was 98. It may have been 96, but I'm not positive.
With the missus, with your wife?
No, this is 96, 98.
Prior to anything, yeah.
No, so you're talking, we were teenagers still, right? I went with 3 of my friends. It was the American Stock Exchange that was still open. And so my father had the Pepsi Cola route. Nice. And so getting tickets, I don't even remember what we did, except this is the way I knew to get tickets. There was a gentleman that had a candy shop, and he was underneath the stairs in the American Stock Exchange, and his name was Stan. And so my father goes, I got the tickets for you, go to Stan. And so me and my friends drove into Manhattan. We pulled up right on Broadway. I think it was Broadway.
Yeah, you could still drive at that time.
Right. And so it was American Stock Exchange, and I walked up to the door, security's there. And they were like, I said, I got to go see Stan. Total stranger. I don't belong in the building. Yeah. Go ahead. Literally, you walk in, stands this little Jewish guy right behind is selling all types of candies. Like, he literally would stock up by putting his shelving that's behind there. And I'm like, Stan, my father said to come by. He goes, yeah, got you the tickets. Great seats. They're on the floor. Unbelievable. So I get the tickets, floor seats. It's
whoa.
They're in, like, we're in the middle part of Madison Square Garden on the floor, and then everyone has their own seats, and then there's general admission, right? So that's and then back then I think there may have been like a small mosh pit, and I wasn't into that at all, but that's kind of what was going on. We get there, all of a sudden my friends have brainiac ideas. Seats aren't good enough. So one by one, and there's an aisle with security guards going up and down till you get to the general admission. We're literally right there on the fence, on the floor, watching Pearl Jam, having a great time. One goes over, into the crowd. One goes over, into the crowd. One goes over, into the crowd. I look, I jump into the crowd, yoked right out. Right out. I got yoked right out. I thought I was going to get hit in my head as they were pulling me out the floor.
Right out of the stadium?
Right. Well, so we were, he pulls me out. He goes, let me see your ID. He sees my ID. And I think I was like 21, 22. He goes, little old to be jumping. I said, listen, you're 100% right. Friends did it. I followed suit. I'm the last one to get caught. He goes, give me a ticket. He clipped the ticket, and he goes, if I see you do it again, you're out. And so that was my first experience seeing Pearl Jam live. I kind of needed to redeem myself, and we went with the missus, and we wound up going to Chicago in Wrigley Field.
Oh, that's awesome. That's right.
So that
was the first one.
That was the first one. First one. So then the second one, we went. We were going to go out to. They were still in Chicago. They were playing. That was Thursday night. Saturday, it was the next one, and we had dinner reservations. And I'm like, I don't know. We can eat steak anywhere. You want to try and clip tickets? Sure, let's do it. So we went, and so we had. That was the second night. On the way back, I knew that they were playing in Madison Square Garden. Ticketmaster dropped a few more. Price was pretty decent. Clipped it on again. So I think we went on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So there was Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, and then they were playing another night in Madison Square Garden. I didn't go, but I was born in Baltimore and actually lived out there for a hot minute. And so my mom's side's from there. So I know Baltimore City. Like I lived in the harbor for a good, yeah. So when I seen that Baltimore was there, I'm like, it's an easy trip. Literally, you park on Metro Park, take Amtrak, 2 hours, you're in Baltimore City, cab it over to the hotel, and then you're right there. And then the next day, I could have done it in one day, but the last Amtrak from Baltimore to Metro Park was around 11. So I'm like, we waited another day, and so that was the end of it. They went to four concerts in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, 14 days.
Yeah, and it was great. So that part of it brought me back to being young again, enjoying it.
They still got it.
They still got it.
Yeah,
100%. 100%. And the following is wild.
Yeah, because now it's going to be everybody that liked them then that didn't have it, or now they're established a little bit more in life. Because they probably have new like people that like.
No, it's generational now. Now it's generational. So
everybody was 40.
So
everybody was 40.
Well, you definitely had the main were our age, but then now there was people bringing their kids.
Yeah.
So cool. But the experience that's there. Joanne and Pellezzini, she's heavily involved with the fan club, and so she's the one that actually was like, hey, she gave me the tickets.
Oh, that's awesome.
To Chicago, she's like, I got them because you got to go through fan clubs because otherwise they go or they triple in price.
Yeah.
And so that's how it all started. And then even I texted Joanne, I'm like, yo, you want to come with us? She's like, I think I'm in. Yeah. So she wound up coming too.
Score.
But I used to think it was weird traveling and seeing. I had a friend in high school that did that, and he would go all over the country and go see Pearl Jam.
It's probably cheaper to see Pearl Jam.
To go just to see Pearl Jam, and I'm going, I don't know, is it really like that? And now I got a taste of it, and I said,
that's it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I would go see him in Seattle.
Do they have another world tour coming or?
I think it's coming to the end of this one.
I knew he knew.
Yeah. They just played in Otani. It was a festival for 3 days or 2 days, 2 to 3 days. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
festivals are great. Seeing a variety.
It was cool. So that was me just, at my age trying to just relive life, enjoy it. My wife enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had that thing with sneakers. Like, I couldn't afford Jordans when I was a kid, so I bought every pair as soon as I had money. Now they're the most uncomfortable sneaker.
They really are.
I don't wear them anymore. We needed room. I had to offer. I don't know. I had like 100-something pairs.
Now I walk around in Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks. Yeah, I love Brooks. Something came up on my Instagram called Kane, Kane. It looks like a what's what the kids are wearing. What's the brand that the kids wear? Crocs. It looks like a Croc, but it's not. It's like a shoe.
Okay.
Sort of looks like a Yeezy slipper, but they're not Yeezy slippers.
Yeah.
Bro, the most comfortable thing I ever put on my feet. The Mr. Dudes.
Really?
Yeah, there's like a Mr. Dudes brand or something like that. It's like a nice comfortable shoe. And then Brooks, but On Cloud too.
Oh, On Cloud, yeah. Swedish company.
Yeah, just anything comfortable.
Of course.
I don't want anything with a flat bottom now. 11s are comfortable in Jordans, but other than that, anything else, I don't want to wear.
I still struggle with the 1s, the 3s, and the 4s.
1s are beautiful. 1s are great with jeans.
And I like the low tops.
Yeah, low tops, Dunks. They listen. There are still good shoes. You sort of want to still be somewhat cool. You don't I made a joke. I took a picture next to like New Balance, but New Balance now is cool.
So wild.
So
that was the dad sneaker of all, and now everyone's wearing them.
They're all wearing them. So you know, it's funny.
You can't keep up with the times. I'm wondering if they'll bring back Cavaricis. You know,
that would be great.
So Tommy, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it. It was a great time.
This was awesome.
You know,
and like I said, keep doing this.
Yeah,
you're on a great path with this, especially the people that you've been interviewing. Everybody has been solid.
Yeah.
Get the girls on more.
I will.
They're going to be great. So
we'll do some. We'll do our next thing that we're going to do. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right.
You got it.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks, brother.
Oh, bro. That was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.